Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, your bite-sized guide to enter the sports industry. And with me in the studio, as per usual, is the highly popular Ruben Williams. How are you, mate?
G'day, Ryan. I'm fantastic. Thank you. Autumn is in Melbourne. It's a beautiful time to be out here. So I could not be happier doing this podcast with you right now.
It's a lovely time of year, isn't it, May? My favourite month of the year, obviously, because of my birthday.
Birthday month.
So the birthday month continues, which is great. Weather's good. So happy days.
Absolutely.
Let's get cracking. Excited to a bite size today.
Me too.
Feels like it's just a day for it. So I'm excited for this episode about tapping into those networks. So very interested to get into it. If you want to learn more about who we are, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. Or if you want to ask us any questions, jump into the SportsGrad community.
Yes, and a quick shout out to one of our community members. Jake Mutton is one of our favourites, Ryan.
Yes.
And he's been looking around for the better part of 2022. He's finally landed a job at Volleyball Victoria as the Events and Competition Coordinator. So well done to you, Jake. We're absolutely stoked for you. Yep. One of our regular attendees on our community webinars. He's an absolute ripping bloke, so we're stoked for Jake.
Yep.
But if you like Jake and you want to get your foot in the door of the sports industry, or if you're an organisation who's looking to hire people quickly and easily, there really is something for everybody inside the SportsGrad community. Absolutely.
Rubes, Deakin's Virtual Open Day, as I mentioned last episode, is on June 5, and it is an absolute cracker event. Thousands of students come along each year, just like those listening in who might be interested in university this year. At the Open Day, you can find any course you're looking for. You can check out the campus, have all your study questions answered, all in the right place. But the catch, you can do it all from home, as it is a virtual Open Day. So it's a really exciting event. Have to get down. So over the last couple of years, over 100,000 people have joined on the day.
That's a huge amount.
Which is pretty huge. So we can't recommend you get along to that enough. June 5, search Deakin Open Day and reserve your spot.
If you're lucky enough, you might even find me on a Q&A panel at some point.
Well, I mean, that's the biggest part of the whole day. That's the main event. Very exciting. Alrighty, let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
Ryan, today is all about how to tap into large networks in sport, even if you don't know anybody. So this is particularly helpful for people who are early in their career, they're just young, so they just haven't had the time to meet people and accumulate those networks who can help them. Yep. Or for people who might have moved to a new city or a new country and you're starting fresh. Your networks are at ground zero, you're on a blank canvas, you don't know anybody yet. Or you might be introverted and not so inclined to go out and introduce yourself to people. And so building large networks can become particularly tough if you're not inclined to do that. So tapping into ready-made and large networks can make this process a lot smoother and easier and save you a lot of time for all those different types of people.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, it's all fair there. Like the people who are listening may very well be in multiple of those categories, and it is genuinely tough. So that's why we'll put this together, because there's a lot of ways that you can tap into those networks if you're not already involved in one. So exciting.
Absolutely. So the process to doing this is pretty straightforward. Step 1, you want to identify who the groups are. Step 2, you want to find a way to lean into them and get involved. Step 3, you want to introduce yourself and then start leveraging networks of networks, people of people who know each other. So with the first one, some of the different types of existing networks that you can tap into that are very well connected include things like university groups or grassroots sporting clubs. Professional societies are another. Even Facebook and Reddit groups are particularly well connected. And then, of course, Discord communities as well, like the SportsGrad community that we've created. Yep. So any of these types of groups are really good ones to go out and approach. And the benefit of doing that is that it saves you time introducing yourself to an existing network or trying to go out and find the networks yourself. It also saves you time trying to meet the right person. For example, like if you had a person in mind who you would love to meet. There might be a certain person working in a certain organisation. It could take you a long time on your own going out trying to find that particular person. But if you tap into an existing network, you might meet one person. They could be the wrong person or not the ideal person. But because you're part of this network, they can now direct you to the ideal person much quicker than if you were doing it alone. So by going through these groups, you save time finding the right person, and you also save time finding the right opportunity that you want. Because the benefit of doing networking is that it allows opportunities to present themselves to you. And the ones that are going to be ideal for you are going to be presented by people who know what you're about. So if you do this on your own and try your own networking, it can take time for people to understand who you are, what you want to do, and what situation or opportunity is right for you. But if you do this in an existing network and you go out to one person and say they don't have the ideal opportunity, they now have you in mind and can redirect you to someone who might have the ideal opportunity because you're part of this right network. So those are some of the places you can start to tap into, and those are some of the reasons why it saves you a lot of time and the benefits of doing that.
So you're essentially saying it pays off to be really engaged in groups. You know, some people will join, as you mentioned, like a Facebook group or a Reddit group. You know, there's LinkedIn groups, there's university groups, all these types of things you can get into. But some people just don't, engage and aren't active enough in them. So if you can get out there, the opportunities almost present themselves to you because people are going to be helping you.
Yeah.
So it pays to be more engaged.
Absolutely. Well, even if you are a serious go-getter, you can be a serious go-getter and do it on your own accord and meet individual by individual, or you can be a serious go-getter and start with a network, and your network will just accelerate much quicker than if you were doing it on your own. So, for example, when I was going through university, I was a part of the Deakin University Sports Society, and I helped run a networking event there one night, and I was introduced to a person called Joel Morrison. And on the night, the only reason I was introduced to him was because someone came up to me and said, hey, you have to meet Joel. He's the second in charge of the Big Bash League, working at Cricket Australia. He'd be a really good guy for you to know. Sure enough, 12 months down the track, Joel became my main go-to person when I had an interview at Cricket Australia. And I needed someone to ask about the interview process, what I could expect, so I could then start to do my preparation. I don't know if I would have met Joel if I had have tried to network on my own accord. I had to be in touch with the Deakin University Sports Society, and that allowed me to connect with him.
Well, and what that kind of shows is you didn't leave it to chance. By joining these groups, you are automatically in these people's circles. Whereas if you're just going to sit back, it's just by chance that you might message Joel on LinkedIn. He may respond. You never know. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you're making your own luck.
And it's a lot more comfortable as well. Like if you're doing it within a network, you're doing it with other people around you. Everybody's meeting each other, getting to know each other. You're not the only one putting yourself out there. And because you're part of the same network, you've already got common ground. Like Joel also went to Deakin, hence he was an invite to this event. We've got now something to connect over. People who come from the same universities as other people tend to get more help from people. For example, our friend Michael Wolfert from Ohio University, he's a part of the Ohio University Black Book. And they give this Black Book out to all the graduates every single year, and they say, go through the list here. You can call on any former Ohio University Bobcat. They're the Bobcats over there.
We love the Bobcats. And
the Bobcat network is extremely loyal. They look after each other. It's the same as if you're in a grassroots footy club. They look after each other.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I remember when I first moved to Melbourne from Perth, I went down to University Blues, which is a team in the VAFA here in Melbourne, in local footy league. And one of the first things, they said to me was like, oh, do you need, are you looking for work or are you interested in anything? And I said, I had to think about it. I'm like, yeah, well, pretty keen on commercial sport. And at the time I was just at uni, but I had an interest in that space. And they put me on to a guy called Will Hartnell, who was at Carlton Footy Club at the time. He's now head of commercial and growth at Geelong Cats, who are inside the SportsGrad community, which is great. But that led me to meet Will, which then sort of gave me an idea about what the world of commercial sport is all about. And as a result of that, I was able to sort of chase that once I was at CA. I could sort of see a future in what that could look like for me. So without sort of going out of my way to tell the guys at Uni Blues, hey, yes, I'm interested in this area. Do you know anybody? I might not have had that insight. I would have been able to grab a coffee with Will and understand what he does. And, you know, you never know where I would have gone. So that's another example of a grassroots club where if you just say you're interested in something, I guarantee there'll be someone at the club who can lead you to somebody. There might be someone at the club doing what you want to do. You never know. There's always networks amongst grassroots clubs.
Absolutely. And I think, groups just tend to look after their own. And it's really cool to see people within our SportsGrad community looking after each other.
Yeah.
For example, Lachlan Croft, one of our members from way back from the beginning, he arrived at one of our speed networking nights and met Nathan Peroni for the first time. Nathan Peroni is our longest standing SportsGrad member.
Royalty.
At the time, Nathan was working at the AFL. And he said to Lachlan, hey, if you're looking for any work at the moment, there's a role going in our team. If you were to apply, I could help you through the application process because I've been through it before. I can tell you what worked. Yeah. Sure enough, Lachlan said that would be fantastic. 3 weeks later, Lachlan starts working for the AFL because Nathan has introduced him to the role, helped him through the application. So that is the power of tapping into an existing network. But it all starts with, if you're coming in fresh, just identifying who those groups are, leaning in and then introducing yourself, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, one thing that I will say about that is sport, and I think we've said this many times, sport is a very giving community. You know, if someone is interested in something and wanting to get somewhere, sport's a great place to be because people always recommend speaking to someone or doing this or helping in some way. So there's always a way to find someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Great episode. I like that one. We are very, I don't like to say it, but we're community guys. I believe that's your bio on Discord, by the way.
Big community guy.
Big community guy. So, lots to take from that episode. So thanks for listening. Join the community or find us on LinkedIn. We're fairly active. We'd love to hear from you. And head to our website, sportsgrad.com.au/community to sign up or head to the link in our show notes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.